First of all, I want to just make a quick clarification, and I'm sure if I'm wrong, someone up here will correct me. But the present City Council did not pass an ordinance changing the definition of family from 3 unrelated to 4 unrelated in the university area. The 3 unrelated rule is still prevalent throughout the entire city. However, in that certain district in the university area, you are allowed to, if your house meets certain qualifications, to apply for an administrative exception to allow a 4th person to live in their home. And those qualifications are due to square footage, certain amount of parking, and whether or not you have 4 or more bedrooms in your house. So the 3 unrelated rule is still the law of the land throughout the city. In the university area, amongst other things, it was passed in that vicinity to allow for a 4th person if your house met certain qualifications. So quickly, I do favor continuing the homeownership program. I think this is a good example of why that we have a certain policy in place for this area of the city. This is one of those as well that just applies to the city. Do I believe that the change in occupancy would decrease crime and increase homeownership? No, I never made that claim before. I don't think either one has anything to do with crime in the area. I think crime is because students are preyed upon by individuals.
Thank you. This is a great question. This is one that I try to speak, when I speak about it, I try not to have anger. I think a lot of us in this room do feel some residual anger about the way that this policy came about. I've said it often, I'll say it again, we've hardly been able to look at the policy because the process was rotten. I'm on record strongly and consistently opposing every aspect of the overlay. It was a policy created in secret, passed in haste, and it's led to anger and resentment and a lawsuit. We never had a chance to review the policy. We never had a chance to consider if a change might be good or what kind of change that may be. The mayor and the majority voting bloc of council developed their secret policy and passed it. That's not how government should work. The most pressing matter in the university community is continuing to bring more homeowner residents to the neighborhood. That's the only way we're going to have stability, reduced crime, secure home values, and a good residential quality of life. Steps such as this overlay increase rental uses. This leads to higher rent costs for students, crowded housing, unsafe housing, and higher rents for students, more dangerous streets, and deteriorated and neglected houses everywhere. On a happier, sunnier note, I most definitely support the University Down Payment Assistance Program and would support expanding it. I've been working with people throughout the community, at the university, at the city, to try to figure, with the Realtors Association, to figure out ways to promote it. Thank you.
I do not support expanding the 4 unrelated rule throughout the city. Mayor Thomas said if this becomes a model, that's wonderful. Said this in a council meeting, and it might also be a model that someday might make sense for other areas of our city. I'm adamantly opposed to that position. And I do not believe that it has decreased crime and increased home ownership, and I do favor the home ownership, increased home ownership policy through the economic incentive program. Return to my comments earlier, I'm concerned about, in the midst of early voting, about the misinformation that's out there. I do not know the source of this, but I have understand that circulating among students is that if we reverse the ruling on the 3 unrelated, get this, that I've heard that some students are thinking it will raise our rents. That, number 2, it will not allow us to live in fraternity and sorority houses. Number 3, it will contribute to closing the downtown entertainment district. And number 4, that you can't renovate your home without real estate license. Again, I don't know the source of this information. Again, things can come up among students, and it just circulates, not just students, anybody. But what we need to do is make sure that citizens are voting based on accurate information. This is clearly not accurate. Thank you.
Definitely, I think we need to revisit this whole issue. The 3 unrelated rule issue was something we discussed in 2004 at that Neighborhood Preservation Task Force. I have quite a bit of experience and background in that now. And I was walking in a neighborhood this weekend, I met a young man that was inside. He was painting. He was outside on his porch, but he was painting. And he said what he did was he managed properties. And specifically, he had invested in some of the homes in the area that we were talking about today, in the Truna area. And the home he had bought was a 3-bedroom house, one of them. And he was telling me how he's modifying that house so it will become a 4-bedroom house. So I think there's a lot of confusion based on what I just heard Dennis talk about as to whether or not it only applies to, quote, 4-bedroom houses already there, or they can go modify them. We really need to find out what's really going on in that environment. But I'm for preserving our neighborhoods and for the the home ownership policy that has been in place. Matter of fact, I think it began right after it followed that task force. And I definitely don't want to see the rule change throughout the city. And I really believe and strongly believe that we need to revisit the whole process again. And definitely I would encourage that if I become mayor. Thank you.